Hi, I'm Rhonda Gaskins, broker Century 21 Lake Area Realty in the Lake Martin area. On average, our sales price are commanding a strong 96% of list price. Call me today and let me get started for you. 256-749-3644.
Hey, welcome into another matchup preview show. I'm Lizi Arbogast with Central Alabama Voice alongside Caleb Brooks. And we were just saying it's hard to believe, but it is week 9. There's only 2 more weeks of high school football and the regular season left.
Yeah, I mean, it's flying by.
It is.
I mean, it really seems like yesterday that we were just getting started, and I was going to the Crampton Bowl to do those 2 games.
Right.
And next thing you know, we're here at the end where we got some region championship games going on this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say I've been impressed with how the COVID thing has gone, right? Like everyone was really worried. I mean, obviously some teams have missed games and things like that, but just everyone's worked really well together on all that, I've thought. So we'll kick it off tonight with our Thursday night game, Pleasant Grove at Ramsey. It's the AHSAA TV game of the week, and this is obviously a big one. These 2 teams met in the quarterfinals last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the second best game in the state from an athlete standpoint with the quality of player you're going to see on the field. It's one you're going to want to tune into on Thursday night for sure. If you get this channel, and if you don't, find a way to watch it because you got really good Division I athletes all over the field. I mean, Zyquez Perryman, the quarterback for Pleasant Grove, is back. That led them to a state championship last year. They've got a really good wide receiver as well. And then you look at Ramsey, and they've got 2 defensive linemen that are Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, LSU, all these different teams offering them, and as well as other really good players. So I think it's a matchup that we're probably going to see again later on this year, just like we did last year in the playoffs. But the reason this is huge is because the winner of this one will then host that playoff game.
Right.
And so this will be no doubt, especially for Pleasant Grove, they can get that one back at their place. You know, Ramsey doesn't have like its own home stadium, but for Pleasant Grove, if they could get it back at their home place and get to play them at home this time, this would be a huge win for them and set up that opportunity there for them once they meet later on in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to Friday night, Randolph County is at B.B. Comer. The winner of that game gets a home game in the first round, while the loser will have to travel. So that's a big one for both of those teams. And I think after watching Randolph County, I think B.B. Comer's probably got an edge in this one.
Yeah, you know, Randolph County doesn't have just a ton of athletes running all over the place. They're not going to beat you with speed. They're not going to kill you with speed, but they're going to beat you by being able to kind of pound you and all that. But if you can do some things that, you know, Lynette was able to do offensively, you can make it really hard for them. And B.B. Comer has that opportunity. You know, they played Lynette pretty decently. They've dominated their schedule for the most part, and they get this game at home, you know, on the turf field there in Sylacauga. So it's going to be a really good matchup, and it's a big one because you don't want to travel. All the stuff that you're having to go through right now with traveling, you know, dealing with COVID seating and all that, and then if something were to happen, you know, you'd rather play your games at home right now. So this is a huge matchup for both those teams. And for Randolph County, I think it's a big game because you were sitting there at 7-0, ranked number 1, and next thing you know, you lose 2 in a row, and you've got no momentum now heading into the postseason. So this is a really big game, I think, for them especially.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same boat for Sylacauga, which is at Holtville. Winner goes home for the first round. Loser goes on the road. I'm excited about this game. I think that Holtville's just shown so much improvement, not just this season, but throughout the last couple of seasons. And Sylacauga's obviously kind of cruising this year. So I think this is going to be a really good test for both teams going into the last stretch here before the playoffs.
I mean, Sylacauga played Central Clay really well. Holtville played them decent. I mean, I think it was 38-14, but it was like 24-14.
But for Holtville, that's not bad.
Well, and it was 24-14, I think, like late in the third quarter of that game too. So, you know, they both played them pretty well. Holtville slipped up against Beauregard, a team they shouldn't have lost to, and that's, you know, their other loss. So it's a big game for both these teams. And, you know, for Andrew Zhao and Sylacauga, you're rolling right now. You know, you get a win here, then you get a, you know, more than likely get a win over Benjamin Russell next week to get it, you know, rolling into the playoffs. And you've got a lot of momentum, especially if them getting a win over Benjamin Russell is going to mean a lot for them next. So I talked to them about the season or before the season about that game, and you know, while it's not a huge rivalry because they haven't played so much, they still know that getting a win over a program like that's big for what they want to do. And so if they can get 2 wins now here heading into the postseason over 2 really good programs, it's going to give them a lot of momentum, and they're going to be a dangerous team in 5A.
I agree with you there. Again, loser goes on the road for Wetumpka at Stanhope Elmore. This is a region we thought was going to be really good, and it's kind of tapered off, and they've all just kind of beat each other. But now Wetumpka at 5-4, Stanhope at 4-4, and they're competing for second in the region.
Yeah, I mean, for Wetumpka, they're 5-4, should be sitting at 6-3 if they don't have the whole crazy Hillcrest game. So, they're not a bad team. For Stanhope, we saw them earlier in the year. They looked really good, and they just haven't lived up to what I don't know what it is with them. Wetumpka's got a lot more athletes. It's going to be a matchup of, can Stanhope stop them enough? And if they can't, can they score enough to keep up with them? I don't think they can. So their biggest thing is they're going to have to be able to play defense. And if not, then I think it's going to be a long night for them because I think Wetumpka's going to be able to score a lot.
Right. Also a really good rivalry game. Those teams are in each other's backyards.
They don't like each other.
No, they do not. Hoover is at Thompson, another huge game in the state. Both of these teams headed into this game undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 versus number 2. Can't really ask for much better than this.
Right.
And, I think for the first time now we have Hoover going into this game as the team that's chasing Thompson, whereas it's been Thompson chasing Hoover. I think Thompson winning it last year. They've beaten them 3 straight times now, 2 of them playoff games. They've just kind of shifted it over. Power kind of is riding at Thompson right now. And for Hoover, they've just kind of flown under the radar. I think me and you talked about that a couple of weeks ago where they're just kind of winning games, and it's just Hoover just sitting there. And so it's going to be a really, really interesting game here. Oak Mountain had a lot of success running the ball on Thompson last week. Josh Lundy is really good for Hoover at quarterback. Thompson has a great quarterback. So this is the best game of the whole entire week, in my opinion, of just matchups of athletes and players. And, I think we'll see this one again as well later on in the postseason.
Exactly. And so our Central Alabama game of the week is Alexandria at Leeds. A region championship is on the line. There aren't many region championships left up for grabs, it seems. But this one is, and this is also going to determine like we were talking about earlier, who would be home if they do end up meeting again, which seems likely.
Yeah, I mean, you got Leeds sitting there at 8-1 after they had a kind of a tough year in Jerry Hood's first year there last year. They turned it around. They have a young quarterback who's only a 10th grader, and they're sitting there, playing well. But I was at Center Point a couple weeks ago, and their coach told me, "I'm telling you, man, I was talking about Pleasant Grove, Ramsey, Central Clay." He goes, Alexandria's sitting right up the road.
They
pretty
are.
Good.
They're really good.
And you look at who they've beaten on their schedule and the way they've beaten some of these teams. They've been pretty dominant. So it's a big matchup here, and you're in for a treat, I think, on Friday night. You're going to see a really good matchup with these two teams.
Yeah, I'm excited. So there is a lot, as we said at the beginning, on the line this evening with only 2 more weeks left in the regular season. So get out to a game, and we will see y'all next week.